Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 11th of July 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, through the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now very quickly, just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. So, and also a quick mentioning of our JFD research page as well, where you can go in and have a look at different analysis that we do on a daily basis. So we always produce a morning in-depth analysis of what the previous events or the upcoming events, so you can always check that one out as well. So today's analysis is coming up, so it will be uploaded shortly. So yep, feel free to check us out here on our website. But now let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is gold. Now, I've talked about this one on Monday, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this this level right here near the 1412. So basically, if we get a nice push higher here above this, then yep, in a way this could open the path back up here. So of course, after we had this brief break of this upside support line, the commodity traveled lower but kind of failed to drive below the 1386.5 levels, approximately around there. So in a way, actually, we can get rid of this upside line now, just because it's slightly in the way. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to keep a close eye on this level right here, where the commodity, where the precious metal is finding good resistance right now. So that's near the 1424 and a half, 25 level. So let's make it 25. So this is around there. The precious metal is kind of getting held here. So for now we're gonna potentially aim for something like this. So in a way, if it continues to hold, we may see this one sliding back down a little bit here, and potentially maybe testing this area of support, which previously acted as a resistance, this 1412 zone. So if we see the if we see gold failing to drive below this, then we may see another leg of buying here, potentially even pushing above this 1425 level. So and then the next target for us is going to be around the 1439. For now, this is looking quite interesting. Like I said, it might not, let's say, travel back down here, and for example, if it pushes straight away above the 1425, then yep, well, I mean, the same target remains. Still continue aiming for the 1439 level, and we'll and after that we'll take it from there. If it wants to push further up here, that's good news for the buyers. We could see this one's accelerating further, but for now, let's go step by step and let's see what it wants to do first with this 1425. If it holds, we may see a small correction back to the downside, but we'll keep a close eye on this 1412 zone. If it acts as a nice area of support, we may see another leg of buying. In terms of the downside for us, well, it's going to be a very conservative approach here, and we're going to wait until we see another slide below the psychological 1400 level. And let me just put this one right here. So first, we're going to wait for that drop below the 1400, and ideally we'd like to see a drop below the 1386 or 1381 before we could aim for lower areas. For now, we're just going to sit this one out and continue observing this 1425 level. DXY, jumping into this one now. So yesterday, or to be honest, I keep talking about this one for the whole week, and to be honest, it's quite interesting to observe what's happening here. So after yesterday's break here of this upside support line, and then in my trader's tea time, we were already kind of breaking this 97.18 zone. And what I've mentioned yesterday in my trader's tea time, basically, if it stays below this, then yep, we could see further declines, and initially we will target the 96.88 zone, and you can see that we did have a perfect test of that area, and now this is where the kind of the price is getting held at. So in a way, what we could expect here now could be something like this, where let's say, for example, this one retraces back to the upside a little bit. I'm not saying that it might travel all the way here back towards the 97.18, but initially we will aim for the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So in a way, if we see a nice rebound here and push back up, then keep an eye on this 200 EMA. If it holds, we may see then another leg of selling, which could in a way force DXY to drift further down here and potentially aim for the 96.68 level. So good potential area of support here. Let's see if it actually plays out or not. In terms of the upside, well, I mean, we would like to see a nice good push back above the 97.18 level before we could kind of at least consider slightly higher levels. And by slightly higher levels, of course, we're going to aim for the highs of this week near the 97.59 area, approximately around there. A nice good push above this could open the path towards slightly higher levels, and I keep mentioning that one. That's near the 97.80 zone, so keep your eyes on that one. EURSEK, and so the euro against the Swedish krona. So probably don't look at this one very often, but in a few minutes shortly we'll be getting the Swedish CPI numbers. So basically we could see a bit of movement here, potentially, of course. So in a way, what we're going to do here is we're going to focus on some of these just potential breakout levels, even though, of course, yes, we can see that it traveled higher from the beginning of July. It had a nice move higher, but this week the pair is kind of finding good resistance near the 10.6310 zone, and kind of it slid heavily from there yesterday, and now it's kind of not far from this other key area of support near the 10.58 zone. So keep your eyes on that one. You can see that yesterday the pair found good support near its 100 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So in a way, what we could do here is, if we see a drop below this low here, below the 10.58 zone, this is where we could start aiming for lower areas again, and again we will aim for the target, which is this one right here near the 10.5323 zone. So in a way, that was the high of the 4th of July, so good potential target, good potential level, previously acting as a resistance, now could take the role of a support. But like I said, we will wait for a drop below the 10.58 level first. In terms of the upside, well, again, we'll take a very cautious approach and wait until we see a push above the 10.6310, and only then aim for slightly higher levels. Of course, I do have this area right here near the 10.67, but to be honest, there is another potential target, which is this one right here near the 10.6540. Initially, let's actually don't drag this one too high. Initially, let's aim for that one, but again, we'll only aim for that one if we see a push above this 10.6310 zone. NZDCAD, quite interesting. Looking at this picture, you can see that, yes, I mean, on one hand, it's still trading below this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 5th of June, but recently you can see that this level right here, at 0.8655 zone, approximately around there, it managed to hold the rate from dropping lower, and this one actually is running here for quite a while. And we need to go back into history here. This was basically, it was near the peak of the 19th of October 2018, so good area, previously acting as a strong area of resistance. This time you can see it took the role of support, from which yesterday the pair rebounded and pushed higher. Of course, during the Asian morning yesterday, we had a brief kind of overshoot here, a brief drop below this level, but you can see that the 4-hour candle never closed below this, and we saw this one pushing higher again, so, and pushing above this other key area of resistance near the 0.8689 level. So now, I mean, we can actually ignore this one. Now we can focus on some of these other levels. So for example, for now, what we're going to do here is, given that the pair is above its pivot, today's pivot, of course, I mean, this increases the chances for NZDCAD to kind of push a little bit higher here, potentially maybe aiming for this 0.8715 zone, or even going a little bit further up here. And actually, let me just adjust some of these levels here very quickly. So, and then potentially aiming for this one right here, and let me just adjust. There we go. So this could be a nice potential area of resistance as well. It's not far from today's R1, which is around the 0.8736, and like I said, the target for us here could be that 0.8740 level. So good potential area of resistance for today. Something to watch out for today. So yep, keep your eyes on this one, and let's see how this is going to play out. I mean, slightly above that, of course, we do have this downside resistance line, but as long as it kind of remains intact, we will stay somewhat bearish in the near term. So in a way, from the very short term perspective, we could see this one climbing a little bit higher, but if this downside resistance line holds, then we may see another leg of selling after that. GBPUSD. Quite interesting developments are happening here. So yesterday, after breaking this steep downside resistance line, the pair traveled higher, and I talked about this one in my traders tea time yesterday, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this level right here, near the 1.2540, where we had a perfect touch. We had a perfect hit here, or should I say maybe just one pip shy from hitting that, but you know, who's counting. But now what we're going to do here is, of course, we're going to keep an eye on this level. In a way, we could see this one correcting a little bit back to the downside, and then maybe pushing higher if it, let's say, fails to drive, let's say, further down below the 1.2480. But in a way, for those who are more on the cautious side, what you could do here is wait for that break above the 1.2540, and then aim for these slightly higher levels, initially aiming for the 1.2560, which could be a nice potential target here. But if that fails to withhold, then yep, the slightly better area of resistance could be seen near the 1.2591 level. So which is marked, you can see by these highs, the highs of 3rd of July, 4th of July, and also the 5th of July. So the level also coincides here with the 100 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So keep your eyes on that one. So let me just actually quickly put this one, there we go, like this, just to kind of have it highlighted. Need to get rid of this. There we go. There we go. So this is basically what we're going to be looking for here today. Of course, this break, yesterday's break above this downside line, increases the chances for GBPUSD to push further up. But like I said, let's wait for that confirmation break here above the 1.2540. In terms of the downside, well, I mean, if this, let's say, drops back below the 1.2440, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could see this one sliding further down. Jumping into EURUSD very quickly here, so this one, it made a nice push also higher, managed to push back above this upside support line. I talked about this one previously, but struggles to overcome the 1.1275 level. So that's why, even though it did push above the upside support line, it is struggling to get back above the 1.1275. So what we're going to do here is, of course, we're still going to wait for that clear break above this 1.1275. I mean, you can see that today we did have a brief overshoot here, but the 4-hour candle kind of never stayed above this. So ideally, we would be looking for something like that. If we get a nice push above this, then yep, we will aim for the 1.13 and above level. So for now, keep your eyes on this one. If this suddenly retraces back down here and drops below the 1.1240, this is where probably the bears could step in again here and drive this one lower, potentially maybe aiming for the 1.12 or even the 1.1190 levels. So for now, keep your eyes on this one. By the way, the 1.1240 also coincides here with today's pivot, so that's why if we see a drop below this today, then in a way this could increase the chances for a further slide lower. And the last pair for this session, very quickly, USDJPY. You can see that, yep, I mean, when we've covered DXY, you saw that the US dollar took a hit yesterday, and you can see that it broke below one of our levels here, one of the levels that I was talking about. So of course, initially it broke below this upside support line, but then just for that better confirmation, it broke below the 108.13 zone. Now, of course, all this is not looking good for a USDJPY. It may slide further down. The only thing is that, let's say, given this very short term kind of steep downslide, we probably could see something like this happening, basically. So and to be honest, this 108.13 level, probably it needs to be adjusted slightly as well, because the target that we're going to be, let's say, aiming for, if this decides to retrace right now from this S2, as you can see, the pair is currently balancing near the S2, so good area. A good area of support could be seen. This one, I mean, at this point early in the morning, when it's already balancing near the S2, I mean, this could mean that it's slightly oversold here. We could see a small correction back to the upside. So in a way, instead of this 108.13 level that I talked about previously, what we could probably see here, maybe even correcting slightly to this level right here near the 108.25, and in a way this could be a very nice target for the bears to step in again and maybe drive this one to the downside. So like I said, for now, keep your eyes on this one. So, and of course, initially keep your eyes on the S2, because we may see a small correction here back to the upside, and if it travels higher, and like I said, the S2 here, sorry, the 108.25 level could be that last resort for the bears to step in, because if this starts breaking to the upside, I mean, it will start testing this this upside support line, this tentative upside support line from underneath. But then if the bulls are feeling comfortable, I mean, we could see this one traveling back up again. So that's why this is going to be our last level here for where the bears could step in again and push this one back to the downside. So keep your eyes on this potential scenario. We'll have a look at USDJPY later on today in my trader's tea time, just to see how this got along. I mean, did it actually rebound from the S2, or actually did it continue sliding further to the downside? Because this is the level that we're going to be targeting, the 107.51 zone. That's going to be our support area, this key support area that we're going to be aiming for. Of course, if the pair pushes back above this 108.62 zone, then yep, in a way the upside could be back on the table here, and we could target these or should I say, this week's highs near the 109 level. So for now, of course, let's see how this is going to play out. I hope you guys found it useful, and if you want to join me later on at my trader's tea time, as always, that's 13:15 GMT, and we'll see how some of these pairs have moved, and we'll see how did they get along, and then yep, we'll take it from there. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful trading day, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.